this Telecaster. It's a Squier Classic Vibe, 2016 model, and I never cared for this neck pickup. Sounds a bit dull and lifeless, just doesn't have a good quality. You know what, the tone isn't bad, it's not a bad pickup, I just don't like the action on it, and I felt this way for a long time. So the guy bought this from, changed the pickups to Seymour Duncan's. I forgot what model this is, but this is an STR, did I get it right? STR-3 is this neck pickup. So a few things happened that made me want to make this comparison video between my pickup and another one on this guitar, and then swap it out and make the same comparison. So let me tell you how I came across this guy. I have a friend, Nathan, who plays the Telecaster, and he also plays through a tube amp. And I was doing some recording, and really I wasn't after the neck pickup sound, I was after the tube amp sound. So I asked if I could try out his tube amp and see what that was all about compared to my solid state. And he said, well, why don't you just bring it home, you know, pick it up. So I went to his house, and he said, we were talking about it, and I said I really like the whole tone of his presentation. You know, he plays well anyway, but the sound of his guitar is great. He said, well, why don't you just take my guitar too? That's really, really generous of him. So I brought home his tube amp and his old Telecaster. It's an early 80s model. And as soon as I plugged it in, I knew there was an enormous difference. It sounded so good. It's the kind of response that when you hit it, it hits you back. You know, it inspires me to play better. You know, mine just feels dull. I don't care for it. But you know, it might have been the amp. So what I did is I put my guitar and his guitar, and my amp and his amp, and I played each in different combinations. And wow, there's just a huge difference. First, the tube amp sounds great. I needed a tube amp, and I've since gotten one. And I needed to do something about my neck pickup. I love the bridge pickup, love it, but nah, not so good on the neck pickup. So this is Nathan's guitar over here. So what I have, mine is like I said, 2016 Classic Vibe. His is an early 80s Fender Tele. So what I'm going to do now is make a side-by-side comparison before and after. Oh yeah, let me show you the pickup I got. So I decided to buy a new pickup, and I got the Paisley LaBrea by Seymour Duncan. I did some research on which type of sound I want. I was watching YouTube videos, other comparison videos, and I decided the Paisley's probably the one that I would like. Cross my fingers. So the comparison I'm going to do, I'll do before I change it, I'll compare my guitar to Nathan's, and then I'll swap out the pickup and I'll do a similar comparison and let you see. So it's the STR-3 versus vintage as compared to the LaBrea versus vintage, and we'll hear all the differences. And I'll try to play the same way in all the tests, and when I change the pickup, I'll keep the height the same. I'll try to keep it, you know, the settings on the amp, I'm not going to change them. Mic placement, all that. I'll try to keep it as steady as possible. I will go through the comparison. So here's the setup I have. It's all right here in my living room. I'm going through a Vox AC15 tube amp. I'm using my Shure microphone. There's my Tele. Going through an audio box USB converter. Right there. It's my laptop. My DSLR camera. And yeah, that's my whole workshop setup. Let's do this test. All right, so that was an interesting test. The differences are subtle. I mean, Nathan's guitar is louder than mine. That I hear right off. But there's a character quality that I don't have on this one. That when you strike it, it just doesn't have character. Where Nathan's guitar, yeah, you can hear it biting and cutting. It feels good to play. The sound difference might be subtle in the recording. I can hear it better just in person than I can when listening back to the recording. But it really feeds back to me, and I want to play better. I mean, I feel like I'm fighting my guitar to get a good tone, rather than playing with it and into it and being inspired by the instrument. So that kind of sucks. All right, so let's swap this pickup out and do the same test. See how it goes. Alright, we swapped out the pickup. Got the new Brad Paisley LaBrea by Seymour Duncan in here. And we'll do the same test we did before, try to keep it as similar as possible. And we'll compare my new LaBrea to Nathan's vintage. Let's do this test again. All right, that was a big difference. First thing I notice is on my guitar, the LaBrea pickup is louder. It's much louder than the other STR-3. It's about the same as the vintage pickup. And that's what I experienced before, that this was louder than my other old pickup. But yeah, the LaBrea, the volume is now equal to the vintage. So that's a very interesting difference. Yeah, it has that character quality when you hit it, when you strike it. It just, there's that kind of a sharp tone instead of a warm, dull tone. The dull thing, it's kind of a negative word. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not what I wanted. I wanted something that kind of hit me back. And now I got it. So I think I made the right choice with LaBrea. I guess I won't really know until I gig out for a while. But I'm also, so that, by the way, that AC-15, the Vox, it's a new amp for me. So I'm going to see how that goes with me. It's kind of a bright tone on that as well. Anyway, it was a fun experiment. I hope you got something from it. I certainly did. Got to hear the difference between my original pickup and the vintage, and the LaBrea versus the vintage. And now you can kind of hear the difference between the LaBrea pickup and it's an STR-3 Seymour Duncan. This was fun.